Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's cousin that she can't compare her loss to mine? My 2-year-old daughter passed away early last year. It has been hell on my husband and I. We're slowly putting the pieces of our lives back together, but I know it'll never be the same. Most people in our lives have been great. Others say things they think are helpful, but honestly aren't. I try to ignore them for the most part because I know they're well-meaning. However, my husband has a cousin, Amy. She told me for months she understood how I was feeling because she lost 3 children. I had never heard about this and was shocked, as I've known her 10 years. She then elaborated and said that she had tried IVF with 3 embryos a little before I met my husband. None took. She views them as children. While I respect that and do not undermine how hard it is for IVF to fail, we had 2 failed attempts before I got pregnant with our daughter. I don't think it's comparable. She had hopes and dreams, but she was never pregnant. They never existed. I didn't feel this way with people who compared miscarriages to me losing my daughter because I get it. No matter how far along you are, you can be attached. But this just seemed like a huge stretch. I try to let it go, but anytime I talk about my daughter or make a post about her, Amy would talk about her embryos. Not just in a I know how you feel, but basically direct the entire conversation back to her so she could talk about it. I started getting annoyed, so I told her that she was never pregnant. It's a loss, of course, but she cannot keep comparing it to my daughter that I had carried in my stomach, then cared for 2 years and got to know, live on, and then had to watch slowly deteriorate. She was diagnosed with cancer at 11 months. Amy got upset and said I was gatekeeping loss and that I can't tell her what a loss is. I said I was never trying to undermine her loss, but she can't keep comparing it to mine. Now a good chunk of my husband's family is mad at me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. As someone currently undergoing IVF treatment, with a pregnancy loss and failed IVF transfer under my belt, it is not even remotely the same. You are not the a-hole, and she needs help with her grief. It's okay to say something like, I understand your loss, but it does not compare to the loss of my living child. I would not have ever compared them, but you bring it up every time I mention her. Or just don't speak with her about it. If she interjects again, feel free to say something. I would never dream of making that comparison, and she should be reminded it's not the same if she brings it up again. Failed transfers feel like a huge loss, but there was never a pregnancy. Period. I'm so sorry for the loss of your daughter. Agreed. We've had a failed round of IVF. It's definitely a loss, and you definitely feel grief for the little potential human that was lost. But I would never consider that grief to be even remotely comparable to the loss of a living, breathing child. It's inconceivable. Given the context, not the a-hole. While I don't usually agree with people comparing their trauma and pain with those of others to see who had it worse, you clearly suffered more than your cousin-in-law, if that is even a real term. The fact that she draws attention to herself when discussing your pain also shows that she isn't that great of a person anyway. I'm sorry you have to deal with the fallout, Opie. To be fair to the cousin, maybe she just doesn't know what to say, so comparing her loss to the Opie's is what comes out her mouth. The Opie should avoid her for a long while. Not the a-hole. A billion times not the a-hole. Firstly, you are allowed to grieve and there is no need for her to even be making it about her. Secondly, while I respect that and do not undermine how hard it is for IVF to fail, we had 2 failed attempts before I got pregnant with our daughter. I don't think it's comparable. She had hopes and dreams, but she was never pregnant. They never existed. Spot on. She can be upset and hurt, but it's a huge insult to you and your child to compare. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my aunt my necklace? I, 20 female, got given a necklace by my great-grandmother years ago when I was about 10 because she just didn't want it anymore. It's a really pretty pendant I wear all the time in the shape of a flower. I'm quite attached to it and I rarely ever take it off. At family gatherings recently, my country has no plague, my aunt's been making comments about how much she likes and thinks it's gorgeous. It culminated in 2 events. Her and my cousin, 8 female, were chatting with me, and my aunt started mentioning how it suits her coloring better than mine. My cousin was nodding, but she's young, so I doubt she had much of a stance as to whether my mom or I had a necklace, and ended with my aunt saying that the necklace should go to her. I was like, no, and said I liked the necklace, and I'd like to keep a hold of it. She then proceeded to lose it at me, and said that I don't treat it with the respect it deserves. It has lots of stones in it that I don't know the names of, and I think when my great-grand bought it, she spent a bit on it. If I had to guess, I would say my aunt wants to sell it. My aunt proceeded to leave quickly after the incident, of her own accord, and my mom said afterwards I should just hand it over to maintain the peace. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and she hasn't come to see our family or her parents since, which is hurting them a bit. I'm standing my ground and I'm not planning on handing it over. Because honestly, it's my necklace, and I was given it, not her. So am I the a-hole for not giving my aunt my necklace? Not the a-hole. Great-grandmother gave it to you, not to her. That means it is yours and you can do as you please. Your mom's argument is invalid, by the way. If your aunt wanted her house, for example, would she willingly move out and hand her in the keys to maintain the peace? I doubt it. That's not maintaining the peace. That's deferring the drama for a later point. Not the a-hole. That's really entitled of her. She's not teaching her daughter good interpersonal relationships either. That being said, make sure the necklace stays hidden/locked up so your mom or anyone else can't just take it. Good call. I currently keep it on my bedside table, but I'll get a box for it. Not the a-hole times a billion. It is your necklace passed on to you as a gift from your gran, and it is yours to keep. And don't let any entitled aunt or her little kid demand it off you, or let your mom guilt trip you into parting with it just to keep your sulky aunt happy. Not the a-hole. Your gran gave the necklace to you 10 years ago. Your aunt is out of her mind, and you should not, under any circumstances, give it to her. If she brings it up again, tell her gran gave it to you, so she clearly wanted you to have it, and that's the end of it. Then just walk away if she ever brings it up again. What a Looney Tune. Also, if you've had it and been wearing it 10 years, you should probably have a jeweler look at it. Stones probably need to have the settings redone so they don't fall out. Jewelry has to be maintained. Yeah, I probably should. My friend's earrings recently had the stones fall out, which scared me a bit. So a good wake-up call. Thank you. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying my fun day wasn't fun? A while ago, month or so, my aunt was talking about needing to paint her deck. I didn't have anything better to do, so I offered to help. Big mistake. When I offered to help, I meant actually help like as in assist her in doing it. I assumed that she would be painting too. When I got there, she told me where everything was and then went to do other stuff around her house and told me to find her if I had any questions. She constantly came by to check my work and was very demanding. You'd think she'd hired a professional painter by how nitpicky she was. She made me lunch and we talked during lunch. It was nothing special, just chit-chat. Relevant. Well then, when all that was left was the top/flat part, she did that with her special fun tool and was all proud because she finished it. What I thought was going to be a couple hours of work and come home turned out to be a 10-hour ordeal. Whatever, lesson learned, and I would never help her again. Well, I heard she's been going around telling our family, my other aunts/uncles and cousins, that we had such a fun time that day and all this nonsense. A little annoying, but I let it go and moved on. Then she was over for a barbecue yesterday and said to my mom, "So did Opie tell you what a nice time we had staining my deck?" We had a really nice talk over lunch, and it was a really fun day. I said something like, "Fun, huh?" And she heard it and asked, "What?" I just said that it was a chore and I was glad it was over and won't be repeated. She said, "Oh well, I enjoyed it." I was like, difference of opinion I guess, and went in the house. She called my mom later last night, and she said that she was really offended that I said I didn't enjoy myself. When my mom told me, so I told her the truth. I said that it was a horrible day. I had a big old headache that we didn't bond. I don't even remember what we talked about. I said that I wanted to leave an hour in, but honored my commitment and what I promised to do. My mom said I should have left if she was being difficult and not even painting the deck herself, but that I should have humored her and let her think it was fun. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. My mom said I should have left if she was being difficult and not even painting the deck herself. Correct. But that I should have humored her and let her think it was fun. Not correct. I don't believe in blowing smoke up people's behind like that. Not the a-hole. I would have flat out said, "Wow, and I agreed to help you paint the deck, not to do it all myself. If you'd like to spearhead this, cool, I'll stay and help. Otherwise, I'm leaving." Yep. As soon as Opie realized Aunt wasn't going to help, they should have clarified that they were there to help her, not do it all themselves. And/or put a time limit on it. I've only got X hours, I'll be leaving by Y time, even if it isn't all done. I'm the type of person who used to keep my mouth shut and just do the work. It's taken me 30 odd years to learn to be a bit more proactive about saying no and putting limits on things. I spent over 6 years in customer service as a frontline CSR. Rocking the boat doesn't bother me anymore, and I'm all out of crap to give. Not the a-hole. And sounds manipulative. But also, how old are you? If you're still a teen, I'm getting the sense you're youngish, given that she called your mom, then just really manipulative. Because it can be pretty hard to just say no to an authority figure when you're still a kid. Heck, it can be hard to say no to family as an adult. I don't doubt she'd try to pull something if Opie left, considering how she's acting. Really doesn't make it any easier to just say no. Sometimes people do silly stuff for the sake of mental health. And I only say silly because they shouldn't have to. And unfortunately, it too often backfires in some way. Like this one-off example. Oh, she definitely would have called my mom if I left. And then probably complained to everyone that I was lazy and didn't follow through on what I said or something. She has some weird obsession with trying to bond with me, but it's never things I'm interested in that she wants to do. It's making me do stuff that she likes. She tried getting my mom to force me to come by her house and do crafts with her when I was younger, right in front of me, and I was like, no, that's boring. When I was a kid and she lived out of state, she gave me some bead stuff to make on the ride home. I made them, but then she wanted them back to give to her friends as gifts. I was like 6. I'm 19 and that's something I still remember. It's like I was a young laborer to her. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole? Brother cut me off for speaking with his fiancée. I've had a good relationship with my brother's fiancée, Hannah, since they started dating a few years ago, and I've always made a conscious effort to make her feel as welcome as possible, and we genuinely got on well. My brother Steve can be quite a difficult person, and hates it if a situation is out of his control. We used to have a group chat with me, Steve, and Hannah. This was the only form of communication I had with her, and I think it is so that Steve can oversee what I said. As Hannah and I became closer and chatted more frequently about everyday life, TV shows, clothes, holidays, etc., we had a one-on-one chat on Messenger, so that we didn't bombard the group chat with boring stuff. One day, as we were chatting about random TV shows, etc., the conversation got onto how she wants kids and is unsure if Steve wants them. I asked if they hadn't already discussed this as they're getting married next year, but she says when she approaches him about it, he gets angry, etc. She also brought up a number of things he does that, to me, screams red flags. For example, threatening to end things with her if she doesn't stop asking these questions, and calling her lazy if she feels she wants to stay in bed all day due to a depressive state. So here is where the AITA comes in. I ask her if she genuinely feels that marriage is the right thing if she hasn't got the answers to the important questions she wants to know. I ask if she feels on edge and depressed around him all the time like she says, and if marriage is really a good idea right now. Cut to a day or two later, they're both home together. They both usually work away on opposite shifts, so don't get to see each other much. I noticed my brother had blocked me on Facebook. I messaged Hannah and asked if everything was okay, and if she knows why Steve had deleted Facebook or blocked me. Rather than getting a response, she blocked me too. I had to find out from my mother that he is cutting me out of his life for doing what I did. I'm just not sure what I did wrong, and was I out of line? Why did she block me too? I wonder if she showed him the messages, or just told a one-sided story to paint me in a bad light. I would appreciate input, guys. Thank you. Edit. I am female. I'm also straight, and in no way did I ever try to chat up my brother's fiancé. That is just ludicrous. If you don't understand what a sister-type relationship is and think it is unhealthy, then please educate yourself. I live in New Zealand. My mother lives in the UK. Steve and Hannah lived in Australia. Hannah's mom died when she was young. She still has a relationship with her dad and brother. They cut the rest of her family off for reasons unknown to me. I noticed I am not blocked on Instagram. My brother doesn't have Instagram, so I will keep her on there in case she feels the need to reach out. Not Dayhall, and I'm sure he's intercepted her messages and blocked you himself. He is horrible and controlling her access to communication. She knows you support her, and hopefully she'll get out of that relationship ASAP. I'm also not sure about her part in this though, as she has always voiced that she has no problem cutting people out of her life if they upset her, etc. And that she has no time for toxic people. So I feel like she isn't being as manipulated as people may think. Not Dayhall. Your brother is an abuser. He's threatening to end a whole relationship with her about a question. He forced his fiancée to block you. That means he even has control over her social life. She mandates what she speaks, or the way she likes to exist. Try to warn other family members only if you truly trust them. Also, has your brother always been that way with his romantic life, or is it recent? Moreover, the marriage is pretty sure a speedrun considering his choices over that poor woman. Not Dayhall. He has a history of this behavior. With his last long-term girlfriend, he pretty much cut her whole family off. And if anyone would say one thing that could be interpreted as mean towards her, he would fly off the handle. He is incredibly controlling. He has tried to get my mother on side about how I've betrayed him. But she told him that she isn't here to take sides and hopes it sorts itself out. I questioned the marriage as I had to pick up the pieces for him the last time his girlfriend had enough of him and ran off with her boss. I didn't want it to end a divorce before it had even started. Does the fiancé know about this? I think she does not. I hope she gets off with him or else she'll be stuck. She asked me about his previous relationships as he hadn't told her much about his past, just very vague summaries. I told her that she would have to ask him because I wasn't too sure. I do know, but again I didn't want to get involved and felt it was something between them. This is also why I ended up asking if marriage is the right thing, because she literally knows nothing about him. He's managed to hide and control a lot of his past as he moved to Australia from the UK and met her there.